Long before sunrise painted the horizon, the massive silhouette of the USS Abraham rested quietly against the dark waters. From a distance, the ship appeared calm, almost dormant, but deep inside its steel corridors, controlled urgency was already underway. This was not a routine morning. Today marked one of the most sensitive and time-critical upgrades in the vessel's operational history: the rapid installation of a next-generation missile system. The order had come down weeks earlier through secure channels. Intelligence assessments had shifted, and Naval Command wanted faster response capability across key maritime zones. The USS Abraham, known for its disciplined crew and high readiness ratings, had been selected for the accelerated retrofit program. For the sailors aboard, the mission meant long hours, tight security, and absolute precision. Chief Weapons Officer Mark Ellison stood in the combat systems bay reviewing the final checklist. Every step had been rehearsed repeatedly. There would be no room for improvisation once the process began. Around him, technicians moved with quiet focus, their voices low, their movements deliberate. The atmosphere felt less like routine maintenance and more like a surgical operation about to begin. Above deck, cranes had already been positioned with exact alignment. The missile canisters, sealed, inspected, and triple verified, waited under heavy guard. Even among the crew, only a limited number knew the full specifications of what was being installed. Compartmentalization was standard procedure, but today it felt especially strict. The captain had made his expectations clear during the midnight briefing. Speed mattered, but safety mattered more. One mistake during high-speed weapons integration could cripple systems, or worse. Every sailor understood the weight of that responsibility. In the ship's operations center, radar technicians monitored surrounding waters continuously. Though the vessel remained in a controlled naval facility, protocol demanded full situational awareness. Modern naval doctrine assumed that even routine upgrades could attract unwanted attention. Electronic surveillance teams scanned for unusual signals, ensuring the installation would proceed without interference. Meanwhile, down in the loading zone, the first missile module was being prepared for movement. Hydraulic lifts hummed softly as engineers ran final diagnostics. Temperature readings, pressure seals, electronic interfaces. Every parameter had to fall within narrow tolerances. The pace was fast, but never rushed. For many junior sailors, this was their first time witnessing such a high-priority weapons integration. Training simulations had covered the theory, but the reality carried a different intensity. The scale of the equipment, the precision of the choreography, and the silent pressure from command created an atmosphere that was both thrilling and sobering. As the ship's internal clock ticked closer to the scheduled start time, Ellison gave a single nod to the deck supervisor. The signal moved quietly through the chain of command. The high-speed missile installation was about to begin. At precisely 0600 hours, the operation moved from preparation to execution. The first missile canister began its slow ascent from the secured transport cradle toward the vertical launch system housing. Even though the procedure was classified as high speed, the movement itself was carefully controlled. Speed in naval weapons work did not mean haste. It meant efficiency without hesitation. Deck crews worked in synchronized teams. Hand signals replaced unnecessary radio chatter to minimize electronic noise. Each crew member knew their exact position and timing down to the second. Months of drills had built muscle memory into the process. Inside the combat systems compartment, Ellison monitored the digital interface as connection pathways came online one by one. The new missile system required updated software bridges to communicate with the ship's fire control network. Lines of diagnostic code streamed across the displays, each green confirmation reducing the margin for uncertainty. But even with preparation, tension remained. Halfway through the first alignment phase, a minor sensor fluctuation appeared on the thermal monitor. It wasn't outside safety limits, but it was enough to trigger a pause in the sequence. Ellison immediately raised his hand. "Hold at checkpoint 2. The deck froze in place. Within seconds, engineering teams cross-checked the readings. The fluctuation turned out to be a calibration drift caused by early morning temperature changes. Nothing dangerous, but exactly the kind of detail that could not be ignored. After recalibration, the system returned to optimal range. "Resume operation," Ellison ordered calmly. The brief pause had lasted less than 2 minutes, but it reminded everyone aboard that even routine anomalies demanded respect. Above deck, the first canister locked into position with a heavy metallic thud that echoed through the launch bay. Applause was neither expected nor allowed. Instead, the crew moved immediately to Phase 2. Time mattered. Naval Command wanted the full installation completed in record time, but the real challenge was maintaining perfect system integration under compressed schedules. Each additional missile cell had to sync flawlessly with the ship's targeting architecture. A single mismatch could delay deployment readiness for weeks. In the background, cybersecurity specialists monitored network integrity. Modern missile systems were as much digital weapons as physical ones. Firewalls, encrypted data pathways, and authentication protocols were tested continuously during the installation. The threat environment at sea had evolved, and the USS Abraham's upgrade reflected that reality. By mid-morning, 3 canisters were successfully seated. Fatigue had not yet set in, but the crew could feel the pace building. Coffee cups sat forgotten near consoles. Conversations remained clipped and professional. Every sailor understood that the hardest part of the operation still lay ahead, because speed was only impressive if everything worked perfectly when it was done. By early afternoon, the operation entered its most delicate phase: full system integration and live readiness verification. Installing missile hardware was only half the battle. The true test was whether the ship's combat brain could communicate seamlessly with the newly installed weapons. Inside Combat Information Center, the lighting dimmed slightly as large tactical displays came alive with diagnostic overlays. Rows of operators leaned forward in their chairs, eyes locked on scrolling data streams. The mood had shifted from mechanical precision to digital tension. Ellison stood behind the fire control team, arms folded, watching the synchronization process unfold in real time. "Initiate handshake protocol," he instructed. The command triggered a cascade of automated checks. Signal pathways lit up across the network map. One by one, the new missile cells reported status: power stable, guidance link verified, targeting interface ready. Then came the moment everyone had been working toward: simulated launch readiness. The test was purely virtual. No missile would leave the ship today, but the system had to behave exactly as if it could. "Running full combat simulation," announced the lead technician. The room fell nearly silent except for the soft hum of processors working at maximum capacity. On the main screen, a simulated hostile target appeared over open water. Range calculations updated instantly. Fire control algorithms adjusted for wind, speed, and trajectory. For several long seconds, no one spoke. Then the system responded. Target solution achieved. A wave of controlled relief moved through the room, though discipline kept celebrations muted. The integration had worked on the first full simulation, a rare and satisfying outcome for such a compressed schedule. But protocol demanded repetition. 3 more simulations followed, each with different variables: electronic interference, evasive target movement, degraded sensor input. Each time, the upgraded system performed within expected parameters. Confidence grew, but no one declared victory yet. Up on deck, the final missile canister was being lowered into position. The sun had begun its slow descent, casting long shadows across the flight deck. What had started in darkness was now approaching completion under fading daylight. The captain made a brief appearance in the combat center, offering only a simple nod of approval. In naval culture, that small gesture carried enormous weight. Still, one final hurdle remained: the full ship readiness review. Because in modern naval warfare, as evening settled over the water, the USS Abraham prepared for its final validation sequence. The ship no longer resembled the quiet vessel from the early morning hours. Every major system was now awake, monitored, and synchronized. What remained was the comprehensive readiness drill, the moment that would determine whether the high-speed installation truly met fleet standards. The captain took position on the bridge while department heads reported in one by one. Engineering confirmed stable power distribution. Combat systems verified full missile network integration. Cybersecurity teams reported no anomalies across encrypted channels. Commence readiness drill, the captain ordered. Immediately, the ship shifted into simulated combat posture. Radar arrays swept the horizon. Electronic warfare suites powered to active monitoring levels. Deep within the vessel, the newly installed missile system transitioned from standby to armed simulation mode. Inside Combat Information Center, the atmosphere was electric but controlled. Operators moved with the confidence that comes only after hours of precise work. Ellison watched the status board carefully, searching for any late-stage irregularities. None appeared. The simulated threat scenario unfolded exactly as designed. Target acquisition occurred within expected time frames. Fire control solutions generated instantly. The missile system reported green across every diagnostic category. After several tense minutes, the final confirmation came through the network. USS Abraham missile upgrade fully operational. For the first time all day, the crew allowed themselves a quiet moment of satisfaction. No cheers, no celebrations. Just professional acknowledgement of a complex mission completed successfully and ahead of schedule. All the captain's voice came calmly over the internal comms. Outstanding work, everyone. Maintain readiness. It was both praise and reminder, because at sea, upgrades were never the end of the story. They were preparation for whatever might come next. Out on deck, the last equipment teams secured their stations. The cranes powered down. Toolkits were inventoried and sealed. What had been a hive of controlled urgency only hours earlier began returning to the steady rhythm of an operational warship. Below the surface of calm, however, the USS Abraham was no longer the same ship that had greeted the dawn. It now carried faster response capability, tighter system integration, and a crew freshly sharpened by the pressure of high-speed precision work. Somewhere beyond the horizon, future missions were already waiting. And when the call came, the USS Abraham